Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Believe in Bengal podcast. Solomon Wilcots right here on Valley Sports, Ohio. And right now, we want to welcome to the show one of my very good friends, PFF's senior analyst, John Kosko, joining us on the show. John, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Solomon. Thanks for having me on the show. Excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you because we needed someone to help feed our brains some really important information. As you well know, Cincinnati Bengals, Buffalo Bills are going to meet in the Sunday night game. This has become quite a rivalry. It was the Bengals who prevailed in the divisional round of the playoffs, 27-10. In that game, the Bengals, I thought, took the edge by their ability to run the football. They went for well over 100 yards rushing in the game. In fact, Joe Mixon had over 100 yards rushing by himself. It gave them, I think, the physical edge as well as a tactical edge. With guys like Matt Milano out, they're missing some pieces on the defensive side of the ball. How does the data maybe support the Cincinnati Bengals and their ability to run the ball on Sunday night in this game?
Yeah, I think the Bengals are kind of starting to find their stride, and big part of that is Joe Burrow being healthy. And when you look at the Bills defense, they've actually been better since Matt Milano's gotten hurt against the run. The first 4 weeks of the season, they were allowing 6.2 yards per carry, which I don't have to say that was the worst mark in the NFL through the first 4 weeks of the season. Since then, they've been one of the middle of the pack at 4.0 yards per carry, which is fine, not great or anything like that. But the biggest thing is that from a non-garbage time situations, they've actually been the 8th best in success rate allowed against the run. So they've been better the last 4 weeks. Kind of that is part of game script. Some of that is who the opponent is and everything. But I think for for the Bengals, they're starting to hit their stride. But the Bills are also playing really good football right now, despite not having Matt Milano.
Now, the Cincinnati Bengals are coming off an impressive 31-17 win out on the West Coast against the San Francisco 49ers. All the inquiring minds in Cincinnati want to know, the Bengals did a smart thing. They put Joe Burrow under center, and lo and behold, they were able to run the football. What does the data show or even suggest to why putting Joe Burrow under center helped this offense to improve?
I think it was a wrinkle that the 49ers weren't expecting in this game because over the past 3 years, the Bengals have not been good when they do go under center. So first, 6 games of the season, the Bengals have only been under center a grand total of 14 times all season long. They weren't very successful with it, but in this past game, they were under center 14 times. So they doubled their season total. And I think it was a wrinkle that the 49ers just weren't expecting. Now, when it comes to like how good the Bengals have been over the years, they're not very good when they do go under center. Joe Burrow is at his best when he is out of shotgun, but it does give him a different element where the play action game can be more effective that way because when a quarterback turns his back, or linebackers bite up. They bite on that run. They're much more trained to basically do that since the existence of football for the past 100 years. So I think that's where it helped. It was a wrinkle that the 49ers probably didn't expect. And it was, good on the Bengals for executing that and exploiting that.
What does the data show about Joe Burrow's improvement? Because he looked to be completely healthy for one against the San Francisco 49ers, but much more effective, much more elusive in terms of his mobility. In what ways does the number support his ability to play at a much higher level in week 8 than what we saw at any point during the season?
I think the biggest thing for that is he's healthy, right? Like when Burrow is healthy, he's one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the NFL. Obviously most people say Patrick Mahomes right there, but when he's healthy, he can deliver it as accurately as any quarterback in the NFL. In this past game, his passing grade is an 85.7. He had basically just one bad throw, which was a dropped interception, but he was at 9% big time throw rate. And it was also, you look at it too. He's a guy that generally does hold on to the ball sometimes longer than you'd want him to. For the first 7 games of the season, 6 games of the season, he was holding it at under 2.5 seconds every single game. This one, he was averaging 2.7 yards, 2.7 time to throw. So he was able to hold on to the ball, let routes develop for just a split second longer. And part of that was from a play action standpoint, they utilized that a lot more in this game. But for him, he just looked healthy, and that's a huge part of his game.
Yeah, not only because of his mobility, but I think the offensive line did a much better job of protecting Joe Burrow week 7 against the San Francisco 49ers defensive line that can really get after the quarterback. I thought they did a good job of neutralizing Nick Bosa. So how prepared is this offensive line to protect Joe Burrow against the Buffalo Bills defense that's got Von Miller back on that line? He's back from that ACL injury from 1 year ago.
Yeah, like I talked about the play action pass, they up until this past game, the highest that they'd done all year long was 20%, and that was week 3 against the Rams. In this game, obviously when Aaron Donald, you want to try to neutralize him. They got Nick Bosa on the other side. They cranked that up to 33%. So with play action, obviously that neutralizes the pass rush. They have to honor that run first and then try to go after the quarterback. It gives Burrow that split second extra time to find the open receiver. And when you got guys like, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd, an extra split second is going to allow them to get open. So I think with against the Bills, you're probably going to see a lot of the same to neutralize that pass rush, get that play action game going, and Burrow can pick them apart like he did the 49ers.
Well, John, Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen, I consider him to be really one of the more ultimate weapons at the quarterback position. He can hurt you with his legs, can hurt you big time with his arm. He can make all the throws needed to carve up any defense. However, he's got this turnover quotient to his game. What does the data suggest that what is Josh Allen doing when he's at his best? What's happening to him when he's at his worst?
The biggest thing that I see is when his offensive line gives him the time, he's going to be one of the best in the NFL. His passing grade is a 92.5 when he's kept clean, and then he also holds on to the ball a very long time, more than 2.5 seconds. He has the 3rd highest grade, has the 2nd highest passer rating when he holds it over 2.5 seconds. He holds it on to the ball the 8th longest in the NFL. Where he is at his worst is when you get pressure on him. If he can't get the clean pockets, his passer rating drops to a 79. His passing grade drops to a 58. And then if you also get quick pressure on him, his grade even drops further to a 47.2. And he tends to throw his interceptions when he's under pressure. So if you can get the pressure on him, that's where he's at his worst and where he can be a bit vulnerable.
He's also proven to be more turnover prone down inside the red zone. So that leads us to ask this question about Lou Anarumo's defense is going to have to defend against Josh Allen in the Sunday night game. The Bengals defense right now tied for 5th with 13 overall forced turnovers entering the Sunday night game in week 9. Talk to me about what you're seeing from Lou Anarumo's defense, particularly when they have such a young secondary this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole scheme standpoint, right? So he's multiple in the back end and in the front end. So you don't know where the pressure is coming from on any given play. And you also don't know what coverage on the back end that you're going to get. He likes single high the most. He's over 55% in single high coverages. But when you get into 2 high coverages, you don't know if you're getting cover 4, cover 2, maybe quarter, half, that type of stuff. So you don't know what you're getting. So what that does is allows the pass rush to get to the quarterback faster, or just a little bit, gives them the extra time to get to the quarterback when the quarterback has to hold on to it for just a tick longer. And you got those guys up front and Trey Henderson and Sam Hubbard who are just relentless at getting after the quarterback. And they're really good at winning, not only early, but also late in the down to get to the quarterback. So it's a whole scheme thing. And, they got the guys that they have in the back end. Some of them are new. Some of them are also, guys that have been there for a couple of years. So they have a good mix of veterans and young guys.
What does the data say about this Buffalo Bills offense? Recently in their week 8 game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had 4 guys with at least 5 receptions, including their tight end, Dalton Kincaid, who's a phenomenal player. They spread the ball around, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, of course. What do you see in terms of the matchup between that young secondary for the Bengals and a real, I think, a diverse group of playmakers for the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, I think the Bengals match up pretty well. They've matched up well in the past. Obviously, in the divisional round game, they had a number of the same guys. Dalton Kincaid is, maybe a different type of animal from the tight end position that they haven't seen all year. They had George Kittle. Kittle kind of, picked them apart in this last game against the 49ers. So if Kincaid can be that weapon that the Bengals struggle against, that might be the X factor in this game for the Bills. So I think from the rest of the guys, they usually have done a really good job at neutralizing their slot weapons. And I think that the Bengals from a scheme standpoint do really match up well against the Bills here.
Yeah, one of the things that was lost in the 49ers game where the Bengals played really well. They were able to put pressure on Brock Purdy, force 3 turnovers from the San Francisco 49ers quarterback, but they did allow 2 receivers to gain over 100 yards in that game. George Kittle, the tight end, Brandon Ayuk as well. But the Cincinnati Bengals were so good at providing pressure and then playing well on the back end. The linebackers were really involved in the pass coverage. I want to turn the attention to the Cincinnati Bengals offense because Jamar Chase, John, has been on a tear. What does the data suggest that this will continue in the Sunday night game against the Buffalo Bills defense?
I mean, it generally doesn't say very good for Jamar Chase because the Bills defense is actually really good. You look at the elite teams that they've gone against, and especially an elite passing attack. Tyreek Hill didn't do very much against the Bills in week 4. It was the one game that the Dolphins kind of were stymied in terms of their offensive firepower. And they did a really good job of mixing up their coverages to neutralize what the Dolphins do well. But this is Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. We've seen it before where, elite talent wins out, right? And I think Jamar Chase at any moment can get you a 200-yard, 3-touchdown type of game, and it doesn't really matter who you're going up against. He's done it against the Ravens in the past, who we know have one of the best secondaries in the NFL. So I think, from a data standpoint, it doesn't look good, but talent. The game's not played on paper; it's all on the field, and Jamar Chase has the talent to be able to do, continue his tear.
One last question: what can you tell Cincinnati Bengals fans about the Cincinnati Bengals offense that literally is just beginning to hit its stride? We've yet to see T. Higgins have the big time game that we're accustomed to seeing from him. What more might we expect from the Cincinnati Bengals offense as we move forward and deeper into the season?
Yeah, I think you look at what Joe Burrow was, how he started out last year. He struggled to start the season last year as well, and I don't think many fans really remember about that. He started with I think he had the appendix, the appendectomy or whatever, where he was not himself for the first 5 weeks of the year. His grading and from a PFF, like an analytical standpoint, looks pretty similar to the start of last year. And then at about this time last year, he really took off. And the whole team, blossomed, obviously. So I think with now Joe Burrow healthy, we're going to see that again. And I think for Bengals fans, the patience is what has been needed for the first, half of the season. And now they're about to take off and hit their stride.
Well, this Bengals-Bills rivalry, I think, has gone to a whole nother level after the Bengals went out to Western New York in the divisional round of the playoffs last year and literally shocked the Buffalo Bills. They were walking around the town over the next week comatose. They were not expecting that kind of game. So something tells me they're sharpening their knives for a little bit of revenge, but the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be up to it. This will prove to be a really great game. It could tell us something about what we could expect as we head into the final parts of the regular season. John, I want to thank you for joining us. PFF Senior Analyst, you're the best, my friend. We'll see you again next time, okay?
All right, my pleasure, Sally. You have a great rest of your day.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us right here on the Believe in Bengal podcast on Bally Sports Ohio. We'll see you next time.
Make sure you check out Bet Online for all of your sports betting needs. For anything that I do betting related, I go on over to betonline.ag and I use promo code BELIEVE50. BetOnline has all of the latest updated odds for the NFL and college football seasons. Anything you need, whether it's futures, live in-game betting, no matter what, your football betting needs are met at BetOnline. And again, make sure you use that promo code BELIEVE50, BLEAV50 to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.